Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. So who are you picking to win the World Series? Royals, of course, but we'll see how that goes. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code. That's Bleav, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome to Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash. I'm here with our former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and my brother Teja Dash. Today's a little bit of a new look. We got it's the playoff first round edition of the Bleav In 76ers podcast. So today's going to be a comprehensive look at the Raptors versus 76ers round one series. So we're excited to get into it, guys. How are you doing?
Doing good. Yourself?
I can't complain. Can't complain.
I hear you.
I'm looking forward to this series though. I think of all the ones so far as far as the betting lines, this is the closest one. It's almost like a pick 'em pretty much. It started off as like I think we were minus 235, and then now it's like we're minus 180, and the Raptors are plus 155 in this. So it's pretty much an even matchup. So it's gonna be I'm very interested. I was hoping the Grizzlies could pull it off, but when I saw their entire starting lineup was inactive and their first two bench guys were inactive on Sunday, I was like, okay, well. Guess that does it for us. I guess we're cemented at the 4 seed, but
good for Boston for not caring about facing Brooklyn in the first round, though. Kudos to them.
I mean, that's a tough call because my friend and my son was in the group message was talking about should Boston rest players, and I said no, and they were like, "Well, why not?" I said because you got to win the division.
Yeah,
you got a first-year coach, and you got to win the division. You get a banner in that arena.
That's true.
You got to go for it. I mean, it's just something you have to go for, and then you play whoever you play. But you can't convince me that you say you got a chance to win a division championship and you rest players. I just don't see how you do that.
And I think they match up pretty well against Brooklyn personally. So
I mean, you could, yeah. I just don't see how you avoid. I don't think but if you correct me if I'm wrong, if they would have lost and we won, then we would have won it outright, correct?
Yeah, we would have won. We would have gone up.
No, there's no way. You gotta do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's with the playoffs now, you still got a week before you play.
Yeah. And they would have faced Toronto in the first round. So, I mean, Toronto's obviously, they're not no slouch. So,
yeah, but you would have been in the second,
Yeah.
Different ways to look at it.
Well, we would have done a 3 seed, correct? And then we would have played the 6 seed. We would have gone up to 2 because Milwaukee would have had.
Yes, Milwaukee would have went to 2.
And yeah,
Boston
that's true.
Yeah, Boston 1, 2, and 3. You would have been on the road.
Yep.
Versus 1, 2, and 3.
Gosh, that would have been.
So
nice.
that's what I'm saying. So you're looking at, if the teams above you win, you're on the road, in every round except one.
Yeah, I love our bracket though personally. I mean, I know we're gonna go into the Toronto game, but Toronto and then facing the winner of the Miami, whoever they get to play in the play-in game. That's for me. It's to not face Brooklyn or Milwaukee in the second round is pretty favorable in my opinion. But
yeah. So before we get to the Sixers Raptors series, tonight's the first 2 of the 4 playing games. Just gonna get your guys' picks on that one. I'm assuming you guys have Brooklyn over Cleveland in that one tonight.
I do, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Clippers, T-Wolves.
I got Clippers tonight.
Minnesota.
Interesting. Okay. And then what the other 2 tomorrow is Atlanta and Charlotte. What do you guys have in that one?
Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then the other Western game,
New Orleans.
Yeah, Spurs and Pelicans. Who do you guys have in that? That's the weirdest one of the 4, I think. the hardest one for me to pick.
I'm gonna go with my hometown guy, CJ. Even though I don't feel good about it, but I'll go with them.
Yeah, I'll go Pelicans on that one.
I mean, I gotta say, what's your opinion on the playing games, Eric? Do you like that implementation of the playing games in the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, I think I like it from that standpoint. I like the fact that it basically starts the playoff somewhat before the season ends. So you've eliminated a lot of, people call them meaningless games. I don't really call them meaningless games, but games where people aren't resting or people aren't, playing their younger guys. Now they're actually competing earlier to try to get a spot in the playoffs. And it gives more guys a chance to work their way in. So I know a lot of, if you're 7th and 8th seed, you don't like the fact that you still got to play, but it's just different now. It's 7 and 8 no longer gets you in. So now you got to try to be top 6. So it's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
No, it's been. I know they implemented it just for during the bubble season. It kind of got good ratings, and so they kind of continued it. And I'm happy they've.
Yeah, I was never one to believe that once they put it in that they would get rid of it. I thought it was there to stay. Like I didn't think it was a bubble thing. I thought it was something that the bubble gave them the opportunity to try.
Yeah.
And then and I just seen it. That's because it's too much success with it. Last year's games, you think about the West Coast, that the Warriors Lakers and the Warriors Grizzlies, those were great games.
Yeah, they were great games.
So I'm not sure you can get that all the time, but I just think that these teams are close. And one game, you just no one thought the Warriors almost beat the Lakers last year. Everybody just felt that they were just going to win that game, and Ja Morant and the Grizzlies go in there and win it. And you notice that kind of built their confidence for this season.
True.
Coming out and performing the way they did.
It's just 4 more teams that are trying hard at the end of the season, which I like. It's just, because.
Yeah, I mean, but you end up getting more than that because, it depends on how close, 11 and 12 is.
Yeah, that's true. So it's probably anywhere from like 4 to 6, 4 to 7 probably. They're gutting it out at the end of the season, trying to get in there.
Yeah.
Too many other teams, man, just mailing it in, just playing all their young guys. Even like their backups are getting rested in the season. Like OKC was playing like their third stringers and bringing up like a G League, all their G League guys at the end of the year, which is cool for them. It's a good opportunity, but if you're a guy with season tickets, you want to watch these guys play.
Yeah, I mean they're obviously they trying to get the best draft position they can get,
and they were still winning games too. Yeah. They won one game. They had
because everybody's doing what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pressey's got his own process over there. It's like a process like 2.0, man. It's I wonder how long that's going to last, but that's a conversation for another day. All right, guys. So getting into the Toronto versus Sixers series. So a lot of fans' fears came true, and we are playing the Toronto Raptors in round 1. And kind of to put this matchup in perspective, we played them 4 times this year. We're 1-3 in all of them. Of the matchup, but we're 1-3 against them. 3 of the games were decided by exactly 5 points, and 1 of the games was decided by 6 points. So very, very even teams. I mean, the fact that it was only the highest outcome was a 6-point game. It's kind of nuts. So what are your, what are your top 3 worries for this matchup, both of you guys? What are the top 3 things you're most keen in on when it comes to this game, this series against the Raptors?
For me, number 1 is your best defender not playing on the road. I think that's I think that Doc, you gotta make a decision. And do you change the lineup, obviously, for the road games, but do you stick with that same lineup for your home games to try to have some consistency instead of flip-flopping your starters from home and away? I think that's a concern because he's gone and you can have other guys step in, but you have to make adjustments and changes that wouldn't be necessary otherwise. Number 2, just the fact that the expectations for us are much different than them. So you have to be able to handle those expectations, and we have a team that wants to win a championship, but the expectations amongst the guys are different as well. Obviously you have certain players that their expectations are way higher than other players. So I think the expectation from the team, from the individuals, and from the coaching staff, you have two coaches that both won a championship, but those expectations right now are different.
Yeah.
And I would say if I had to pick something, the third thing, it was just, the cohesiveness of now it's playoff time and you don't have the cushion of it's still regular season. Do we have that cohesiveness, and are we together? Are we ready to go? Because any slippage or any game slippage or two games. So I think you have that cushion that we had before is no longer there. So we got to be able to play and perform from the beginning of the series, and you're starting out at home, and you have to win those games. You have to win that game one. You have to win game two. You have to start on the road, because from there it could snowball and go a different way, and then you're lacking a guy going on the road. So 1 and 2 are very important, and you got to do it out the gate.
Now, before I get to you, Teja, this weekend, the games against Indiana and Detroit, soon after the news that came out about Thibault, Danny Green was a starting 3 in the 2 games this weekend. Is that, do you think that was kind of planning for the playoffs and being like, this is going to be our starting 5 when we play Toronto?
It's my guess. I think that you have to start, you have to have the consistency to start a guy. If he's going to start there, start him at home. So then you have that consistency within your lineup. And that right there shows you that Thibault not playing, how it already impacts the team, because you have to make that decision. So he's had an impact on it before we ever play a game. But I Bleav that you have your starting lineup, you have the consistency with that, and then you make a change with your rotation off the bench, and which is pretty common in games where one guy may play one game and don't play the next, or he may play more or less. That's pretty common as far as with your reserves, but it's your starters where you don't really get into a playoff series and you're changing your lineup every 2 games.
Yeah.
You don't really have that. You may drop some minutes for guys, but you don't really yank a guy out the lineup every 2 games in the playoffs in the 7-game series.
Yeah. What are your 3 things you're looking at?
So one would be, I'd say Harden stepping up in the series. I know it sounds crazy considering it's James Harden, but he has been struggling on his drive as well as his 3-point shot. So I think in the playoffs again with Brooklyn last year, he averaged 20 points a game. The year before that with Houston, he averaged 29 a game. So just give me somewhere in between there. Give me like 25. And I think I'd be totally fine with his performances. I mean, free throws, threes, driving, whatever he needs to do, just give me 25. So what's interesting is I was dating back to his Houston days last year for Brooklyn. He had his second best 3-point percentage in the playoffs, so 36%. And that's in the 9 years in the playoffs, right? So 9 years with Houston and Brooklyn. And actually, it might have something to do with that's his lowest amount of threes taken in the playoffs, which is 7.3 a game. So he's picking his spots better, I guess. Be a little more selective. But I think some of it's just bad luck. I mean, we were watching the game, and those floaters are just going in and out. So I just think the percentages will even out a bit, and I think he will start to score more. But 25 a game from him, I'd be fine with that. And number 2 would be, Eric said, Matisse, the home and away split. We have a hard enough time guarding them with Matisse, so it terrifies me that the games that we're not going to have them in Toronto, which also puts extra pressure on us to win at home, so we don't have to be in a hole in Toronto without him. So I looked at our year with him this year. So we played Toronto 4 times, twice without Matisse. We lost both of those. One of those, Toronto was missing Van Fleet. One of those, they were missing Siakam. So they won despite missing one of their best players each time. So I Bleav he guarded him in the December 28th game. He guarded Trent. Trent went 6 of 24. So they'll probably go back to that again because he killed us this last game. So if he can stop him from doing that again, that'd be amazing. So yeah, just as long as – I also don't want Matisse to be blamed for it afterwards and have a Ben Simmons part 2 where he's after the season saying the whole city's turning on me now because I'm blamed for this loss. So
then we better win.
Yep. He better play his ass off for the games he does play in. I also don't want him to press either and overcompensate. So it is good. I like that they're doing that. They're putting Danny at that starting. so they don't have to give him that like in and out thing. It's good for the team, and I think it's good for him too. So you just have your roll off the bench. Let's just keep that for now. Number 3, I was going to say free throws because I that they always have playoffs are so much tighter in officiating. I'm going to go with Hujan Agard Siakam as my number 3 because he absolutely killed us this year. So in the 3 games he played, he averaged 39 and 8. So the one negative we got on him was that he was 2 of 14 from 3 against us. So give him the Ben Simmons treatment, make him take threes, make him take contested long jumpers, do what you got to do. Because anything inside the paint, he's just killing us on. And make his ass work on defense too. I don't know who he's going to be guarding, but whoever that is, got to make him work. I think they'll probably start with Tobias on him and then see how that goes and go from there. It hasn't gone well so far. So once he starts getting roasted, they'll probably put Joel on him, but that's another one. That's my 3rd.
How would you handle Siakam, Eric, if you were drawing up a game plan against him? I mean, the guy's averaging 39 against us in the 3 games he plays.
No, 39 and 8. Sorry.
39 and okay, never mind. Sorry.
Okay, 30. Let's stop.
I think that you have to find, you got to mix it up on him. But I think for a guy like him, that's not really killing you from the 3-point line, it's tough because it's not just one way. I mean, it's the dribble drive, it's the offensive rebounds, it's transition. And what makes it a tough matchup is, say, for instance, you have Joel on him, but what if he's not guarding Joel? So now you got a lot of cross matchups. So in transition on misses, if you're missing 50% of the time, that's 50% of the time that Joel is not going to guard him. So you can say a guy is going to guard someone, but if he's not guarding him on the other end, you're still going to have those matchups where someone else is on him. So I feel that you got to have a scheme to where you're trying to send him to his weak hand, try to put him in predicaments like anyone else to take tough shots. But I think keeping him off of the offensive boards, which they have dominated on, keeping them out of transition, because all of those things get easy buckets for them, get more shots for them, and put us in foul trouble. So I think it's sort of like a collective thing. Not really just how we defend him and stop him. I think it has to be done from an individual and a team standpoint to keep him off the boards, limit the turnovers in transition, because turnovers is another place they hurt people. So if they're getting those turnovers, those offensive rebounds, that's where they can beat us, and that's where he can get those extra opportunities, those extra shots, and that's how his numbers grow. So we got to make sure that we cut out those TOs, those offensive rebounds, transition baskets. And I think that's how you bring a guy like him down, because he's not really a guy that they're going to call sets for, where he's going to come off taking a lot of jump shots and stuff like that. So he's going to get his points a lot of different ways. So you got to make sure you cut that down.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I know, this past weekend, a lot of people said that those games were throwaway games, specifically the Sunday game. But Teja and I were talking about how, we got Shake Milton got more minutes, Paul Reed got more minutes. Guys who are going to have roles off the bench in the playoffs. How beneficial do you think this past weekend was for those guys to kind of get confidence going into the playoffs?
Whenever they can get on the court, it's helpful. If you can get out there and you get an opportunity to play and compete, you can practice all the time. You can work out and do all that, but the game experience and actual experience is the best teacher. So whenever you get out there and you get put in situations and you got to react and play and make decisions and play hard, and you get that experience each time they're out there, is very helpful. So I think that when you get guys in real game situations, it only benefits them going forward. And you get into the playoffs, and that's a different animal, but you still have felt like you've been there before. And, you just got to gain that intensity from the playoffs and how important each possession is. And it's different because you kind of know that, each game can determine, how long your season is going to be for the rest of the way.
Yeah. Our complimentary guys are playing really well right now. They're probably playing the best maybe they have all season.
Yeah. And I don't know if you caught the interview post game on Sunday where they asked Doc about Paul, who's going to be the backup 5. Is Paul Reed going to get the minutes, or is it DeAndre Jordan? And then he pretty much gave the answer that we've kind of been talking on the show. It depends on matchup. And I guess some reporters didn't like the answer, and they still wanted to they wanted more. Is Paul Reed going to be the backup 5? But Doc said it just depends on matchup. With this matchup, who gets back up 5 minutes, DeAndre Jordan or Paul Reed?
I think Paul Reed can end up getting it, but I Bleav that initially he's going to go with DeAndre Jordan. He's going to give him a shot first. I just don't think that he's just going to go right to Paul Reed. I just don't. I'm not as certain as Doc has as much confidence in Paul Reed as everyone else wants him to have. I'm just not sure that he does.
Yeah.
I Bleav that he'll give DeAndre a shot to see how it goes, especially at home. In limited minutes, he's already on record saying Joel's minutes are going to go up. So those minutes are going to be even more limited. And I just think that he'll give Joel a shot first.
Yeah. It probably also depend how the game's going too, right? So if we're up by a little bit and Joel comes back and we're just protecting a lead and we want a guy who can just rebound and play defense, he might just go with DeAndre. We need a little more offense and a guy who can guard maybe like a 4. Maybe he'll go Reed, but yeah. I know one thing, he doesn't like being asked that question anymore. That's for damn sure. Doc's over being asked that
when he didn't like, to me, when he the way he responded to that question was telling me that, he's like, you guys are higher on Paul Reed than I am. Now, he didn't say that, but that's what I got from it.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are asking me about a guy that, because I think if it was anyone else that was kind of firm in the rotation, it would have been about how much, not if. We're talking about if a guy plays. So I just
this isn't Paul Reed's Hollywood tour, all right? Yeah, basically that's what.
So for him to say that, you know what I'm saying, to respond like that basically told me, like, I think fans are a little higher on him than Doc is.
Yeah, he brought up practice too, so they're seeing things that we're not seeing every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's something. It's something there for that he obviously Paul performs well enough that people get excited for him to play more. But it's also maybe something there that we don't see for them to feel like he's not quite ready.
Yeah. And he brought up, I think, the other coaches too. He was like, all the other coaches are seeing it. So he's trying to distribute that blame. Like, it ain't just me, guys. All of us are in agreement about us tempering our expectations of Paul Reed. So just chill out pretty much.
Yeah, and just generally with Doc's, when we saw last year's playoffs, Shake Milton's minutes were kind of inconsistent. Tyrese's minutes were inconsistent.
Yep, Maxey's definitely.
Yeah, but here's the question: like, they were inconsistent. Were they inconsistent during the regular season and the playoffs?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what. So did any of them not play much during the regular season, then played a great deal during the playoffs?
Yeah, Maxey would have games where he play a lot, then he play in the low teens for a couple games. He was all over the place during the season.
Yeah, but in the playoff stuff, did a guy not play very much during the regular season, but play more in the playoffs? Because that's what we're asking. But that's what we're asking with Paul Reed. That's what we're asking.
No, I know.
Different circumstance.
It is promising that they gave him a lot of Toronto minutes, though, a few days ago. I mean, that was a preview, right? We knew we had a good chance of playing him at that point.
Yeah,
so that's a good sign.
I mean, that's playing a little, showing your hand a little bit too to see, but that doesn't mean he's going to play. That's just maybe showing Toronto a little something different.
It's a regular season game. In the playoffs, he wants to go. They got Jordan for the experience.
Now Toronto's going to prepare for him.
Yep.
It'll be interesting. I know that the backup 5 will be a hot topic throughout the
I mean, we talk about the backup 5, but let's be real. Like, the 5 that says he's the MVP is going to get the majority of minutes. So if we got to talk about the backup 5, then we got a big concern here.
Yeah,
that's true. Unless he gets in foul trouble. I hope not. I hope he doesn't get in foul trouble.
Yeah, that's a good point though. Because that's funny though, because I've heard more about the backup 5 talk and more so than the Embiid talk as we think about the Toronto series. So
he's going to go up, 4 to 8 minutes a game. So this backup 5, he's going to play less. So
yeah,
let's make sure that the starting 5 plays well.
So moving on to our next topic, Eric, I know you talked about expectations, so it kind of rolls into this topic. So who do you think has the most to prove and the most pressure going into this series and just the playoffs in general? Is it Joel Embiid? Is it James Harden? Is it Doc Rivers? Or is it Daryl Morey?
You would think Doc, but Doc has a championship. I really think it's Joel. I think because Ben Simmons is gone. He's said he's the MVP. He says, and this is what he says. I believe it, but he also says it himself. So if that's where we are, then get us where we need to go. So I think, and I think he's very capable of handling it, but I personally think he has the most. That's my opinion. But I also think he's the most capable of out of the four in controlling it.
Yeah. I agree with that as well. It's pretty interesting because four so important guys, and they all have their different pressures going into this. They all have their own storylines. There's a lot. So, and they're kind of tied too, right? So Embiid, I think, is a little more tied to Doc, and I think Harden's a little more tied to Morey. But does Embiid feel more pressure because he calls himself the bona fide MVP? And MVP shouldn't get bounced in the first round. So, you're taking that on yourself. Harden's been being called washed by many, and he's known as an MIA playoff performer. Doc's known as a playoff choker his last, 10 plus years. Morey made a huge move by getting his guy Harden. Harden seeking a new contract. Do we give it to him? Is he the guy? Doc's rumored to be for the LA job. I mean, there's a lot of things going into this. I said a lot on the show in general. We're an incomplete team. We made that midseason trade. We lost some pieces. I feel like that takes the heat off Morey a little bit because he knows going in the offseason, he's got to do a lot more to make this a true contender for the next few years. Right. But I really think it depends how we get bounced. So hard. I gotta say, I think it's on Harden just because I think he's hearing all the wash comments. He's listening to it all. He's had some really rough playoff performances. And he said this is where he needs to be. Like he needed this to complete his player circle. Like, this is what I wanted. He needed to get away from the Nets. He forced himself away from that. There's no more excuses. I don't think that means he has to average 30 points a game. Like I said, 25 would be fine, but he needs to be the guy we all want him to be. And he needs to be the guy that we're paying him to be, that he's asking for. Because he's asking to be paid like Houston Harden. So if you want to be paid like Houston Harden, you got to play like Houston Harden. So I think he's the only person really auditioning for a contract. Not really auditioning. He's got a contract no matter what, but a lot's going to be talked about in the offseason depending on how he plays. If he lays an egg in this playoffs, Morey's got a lot of questions to answer. They have a lot of stuff to go over. If he tears it up, it's an easy decision. Even if we lose and Harden has 29 a game, 10 assists, 8 rebounds, we have no questions about giving him money for the next 3, 4, 5 years. But if we lose and he has a really bad playoffs, we start asking ourselves a lot of questions I don't want to be asking ourselves in about a month from now. So I think it is actually on Harden. But again, they all have stuff to prove. So
yeah. My thing about James is he's the number 2 option. So we're telling our number 2 option he got to average 25 points. You know what I'm saying? When you think about that in the playoffs, I think if you sitting there, if he can give you 20 to 22 points and double figure assists and 7, 8 rebounds, and then we say that's not enough for your number 2 option, your non-MVP candidate.
He's going to the free throw line like 11 times a game.
I understand that, but that's still a possession. But I'm saying, but the MVP averaged 30. So we get into the playoffs, and his minutes are going up. We're expecting more points, right?
Yeah.
So we're telling the number 2 that he got to get 25. Like I just don't think that's fair. Like we're saying James, yes, and he got to give us 25, but we're looking at James the number 1 option. But he's not that anymore. He's the number 2 option.
That's also why I said we got to see how it happens. Because, I mean, yes, if Harden comes out and scores 25 a game and Embiid scores like 23 a game, Embiid, you messed up. You know what I mean?
The reason why I didn't really pick James because I just felt James just has to be consistent. He has to, shoot a good percentage.
Yeah.
Not turn over the ball.
Sure.
Not disappear on defense. Just be a heavy contributor. But I didn't think that he had to be the best player on the court because that should be Joel.
Yeah, no, I agree. If he scores 22 and he averages 40 to 50% from the field, I'd be okay with it. But 22 and averaging 25% from the field is brutal.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, being consistent. But let me ask you this, though. If James is averaging the 25 that you saying you hope he get,
yeah,
but Joel isn't averaging the 30, it's going to be hard for us to win, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Joel averages 30, James can average less than 25 and we still win, right?
He can, yeah.
Because James averaging 25 right now.
It's got to be a more efficient 21.
Yes. But,
sure.
You get to the line, like the way he gets his.
Yeah.
I just personally, like, I understand why you say James. I'm just saying, I just think this year, if Morey has a pass, why don't James have one?
But 25 is also not expecting Houston Harden. I mean, James Harden in the playoffs historically has averaged like 30, 31 a game. So it's still asking for 6 less than his career average. I'm not asking for
but
MVP Harden.
But he was also the number 1 option. And
he was shooting a lot more shots.
When you're the number 1 option and you're getting more shots. But if James comes out and then all of a sudden he goes 30 and Embiid goes down 25, like that's not. They're like, yo, this is different. It's a different team. Like, we're playing different.
I agree.
I just don't see how we're expecting Joel to take it up a notch, and then James to take it up a notch to 25 too. I just don't see how you're able to do that in the playoffs, where it's fewer possessions. Most likely, it's fewer possessions, and the game slows down a little bit. I just don't see how they can both do that.
I mean, if you just take what Harden's been doing the past month for us and gave him like 1 or 1.5 more shot makes a game, he's averaging that 25. So he's just shooting really poorly. If he just shot, like
I get like I just think if he shoots a higher percentage, but then we don't really know. Like Toronto can switch, trap. Like you don't really know how they're gonna play them yet.
Yeah.
So and then we still have Tobias. You know what I'm saying? Like we still expect you still got other guys that need shots and need to perform, and the opportunities got to be there. I just know when the playoff games start, that game is going to slow down. Those possessions are going to be shorter. Smaller. Like you're not going to have as many possessions, and you're not going to have these games where people are scoring 120, 130 points. It's just not going to happen. You may have a game like series. It's if you look at the history, it's the score. Because people are locked into what people you don't have to game plan. The Knicks, and then you play the Raptors. You game planning for one team, and everybody's on the schedule. It's not we played last night. They played 3 nights ago. Everybody's on the same because you know their sets. You got your game plan. So it's about taking care of the basketball, making sure you get that rebound, knocking down the open shots, being consistent with your game plan. If you're forcing them left, sticking with them left. You're gonna trap. You like being able to execute that plan, and that makes it harder and tougher to score. And at the same time, people are not gonna have easy buckets. Maybe during the season they would come out and jack that 3. Some guys not gonna do that. Mm-hmm. It's different now. So that's why I'm saying I just think at the end of the day, your number 1 got to be your number 1.
Yeah, yeah.
And if your number 2 is, and I think with James, all we're asking is be, average or above average. It's don't be below. In my book, that's what I'm saying.
No,
whatever his average is right now or above average, I just think that he just got to be consistent with that. And I think that if Joel is the MVP and he plays like that in the playoffs, we can win with James being that and having the Tobias Harris. We should win.
We should, yeah. But we lost to Toronto despite Embiid having a great game. That's why I'm like, shoot, like his great game maybe is not enough. We need the next guy needs to come up a little bit. That was why do you think his great game is not enough? Like, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think it's just points. Because if you look at what Toronto's done to teams all year long, they've had more possessions because of offensive rebounds and forcing turnovers. Yep.
So that's how you can score, but if they're getting 10 plus more shots than you or something like that, I think it was like the biggest difference in like 20 some years.
Yeah. So
if they're getting that many more attempts, it's going to be tough to beat a team. And that's why you have so many close games. Because, so if you shoot a higher percentage, but they get 10 plus more shots, it's going to be a closer outcome. So you got to make sure that you're the things that they do well, that's forcing you into turnovers and offensive rebound. That has to be a point of emphasis too. So James can play well and get those extra points we're hoping for, as well as Joel and the other guys offensively. But if we're not boxing them out and getting that rebound and we still throwing the ball all over the place, they can beat us.
Yeah.
Play well or not, shoot well or not.
Yeah. I'll tell you who has no pressure on them, and they're loving it, is Tobias and Maxey. They got pressure now. We've only said Tobias' name like twice in this whole conversation. Dude's making $40 million.
Now, see, this is where I agree with you, and then I still understand.
He does. He feels it.
So they don't have the pressure coming in.
Yeah.
But they will have the pressure if they don't perform.
Yes. Yeah.
But coming into the series, it's just like, hey, I'm got a week off, play my game. All I got to do is make some plays, make some things happen. But
Embiid and Harden have so much more they're responsible for. Like Harden's got to get people involved. Embiid's pretty much got to do everything. Harris, man, just beat your man. Just do your thing, man. Beat your man, hit your open shot. Beat your man, open your shot. And Maxey too, just get it and go straight to that rim. So but isn't that what has always been with them? Yeah, I think that's why Maxey looks really good with Harden. And I think Tobias gets it now. It took him a little while. I think he was a little gun shy at first, but now it looks like he has it.
Their roles are defined. I think it's the guys coming off the bench with the inconsistency in the minutes, and that's when you don't know. But those guys' roles are defined. So you go out and perform the way you supposed to perform and to help us win. I expect that for them. I just think that you're right, though. It's like, no one's going to talk about them coming in. They're going to talk about the eyeball missing games and what James supposed to do and Joel's supposed to do and what Doc Rivers supposed to do. I mean, it's not enough ink on the paper to talk about everybody else.
Well, if Harden has a pretty good series and Embiid plays against Embiid, everyone's going to be talking about, at that point, Doc and Harris. Then Harris is going to definitely hear it after the series.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So if those guys play well, that's why I'm saying, like, the pressure isn't coming in. But if you have those guys play well and we don't win, they just going down the totem pole.
Yep.
That's all they do.
It's going to be a big – that's what I'm saying. How we lose is going to be a big finger-pointing match, and we'll see, man, a lot to happen.
So that's why we got to just win.
Yeah.
I would just say based on my quick opinion here, just based on what I've been seeing the whole year on who's on the biggest shit list as far as Sixers fans and especially Sixers Twitter, probably be Doc Rivers. So I would say the biggest pressure is that. I would say Doc. So getting past where we were last year, I think it's a win. It takes pressure off him in that respect from the Sixers fans. We talk about Harden. I know I was watching First Take earlier. Stephen A. Smith said the pressure's all on James Harden, and second was Daryl Morey. He cited both those two. But, I mean, we traded Ben Simmons, who hasn't even played with the Nets. We're pretty much a zero from a guy, and we're getting Harden. Any production to Harden is better than we would have had if Simmons was still on this roster, taking up a roster spot, playing or not playing. I mean, he wouldn't be playing right now if he was still on a roster. So Harden's giving us something we didn't have before. So that's why I would say Harden's not really, for me at least, it's the pressure's not on him that much. I think Doc's on the bigger right now in the bigger hot seat about anybody else, I would say. Because I think we traded all those assets to get Harden. Harden's staying even if he has a poor series. I mean, let's be real about it. We're not going to re-sign him.
Yeah, at this point, I don't think it's even an option. But losing Curry and Drummond hurt because we wouldn't be having all these backup 5 conversations if we still had Drummond. That'd be done. And Curry would be another guy shooting over 40% who's wide open for threes. That's my incomplete roster argument. Like, we need to fill those holes that we have. We have holes. We do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but to echo Stephen A. Smith, I don't think Mike D'Antoni is the answer, but that's a problem for another day. So we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the predictions. We got a couple different predictions before we end the show here. But first one is our game 1 on Saturday in Philadelphia. It's on 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. Sixers are currently, as of right now, a 4.5-point favorite hosting the Raptors on Saturday. Who do you guys have in game 1 and why?
I mean, I got Sixers winning game 1. I think we get +4 or 5 in the end because I think we make some free throws in the end to lift us up. But I do think it's a close game. Toronto has a little lead part of the game. But I think Joel's going to be a little too much at home. The crowd will be great. I think we'll get a win in game 1.
Yeah, I think the place will be rocking. We'll come out with a lot of energy. We got to jump on them. We got to set the tone. We got to draw those fouls early, too. We got to set the tone with the refs as well. I think it'll be close throughout the game. I think we'll win. I don't think we're going to cover. I think it's going to be one of those situations where they're shooting at the end to either tie or win the game, like a 108-106 game.
Oh, wow. So you do think Raptors cover, huh?
I think it's going to be real tight. I was between that. I mean, it could very well be Eric's turnaround too. If we get one of those rebounds and get fouled, it goes up to 4. But I think it'll be 2 to 4 in that range. So I think, buy a couple Toronto points and take the +8.
I was going to guess I was going to ask you, are you going to do that? Are you going to buy points and take Toronto plus like 9 or something?
Yeah, I never trust the spread. You know me. I think I'd probably go like +8. Hey, if we lost that and we blow them out, I wouldn't be that upset about losing that bet. But +8 would probably be pretty safe considering how close. I mean, dude, like you said, all games have been 5 and 6 points. Like that's crazy. But that's how a 4 and 5 seed should be. We're supposed to be close. It's a 4 and 5 seed, right?
I'll take Sixers money line -190. You can't beat that. So
yeah, that's a good one.
All right. So moving on to the entirety of the series, Raptors and Sixers. Who wins and in how many games, and why do you have it as such?
Sixers in 7.
7.
Yeah. I don't think we win a game in Toronto. I really don't. I think we have some close games. I don't think we win a game there. I think we'll have some close games at home, and we'll get a little payback for a game 7 victory at home.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
Be nice.
Man, we need it. I agree with that part. I was gonna go 4-1 at one point, but then I was like that, and then we have to win a game at Toronto. I think that game 5 is gonna be crucial for us to just close it out. I think they win game 6, and I think we go back home for game 7. I have us winning 4-3. Home court's so important here, man. We got to take care of business at home, man. If we lose a home game, I am very worried. I am very, very worried, man. But yeah.
Both you guys have game 7. I'm gonna have a stroke.
I didn't want to do that. Trust me, I didn't want to, but I was like, I have a feeling we're gonna blow that game 5 to close it out.
That's the Doc special right there.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I tend to agree. And most of the predictions I've seen are more at mostly game 6 or game 7. So it's pretty much you guys are right on with every other prediction I've seen. I'm gonna go 6 just because I don't want to have to do the 7 game scare. I don't want to have to deal with that.
Closing him out in Toronto would be nice, sweet justice, though. I'll tell you that. That'd be real nice.
Yeah.
and B can leave crying, but this time in happy tears.
Yeah. A buzzer beater would be nice too, and that same fashion.
That'd be great.
Bounce around,
or if they shoot to win and it bounces around and misses this time. Oh man! Oh boy!
What a justice! All right. Okay. So final question of the night is the final prediction of the overall NBA Finals. Who do you guys have winning the overall East versus West showdown? I'll go first to start it off here. As I told you guys earlier, I placed a bet earlier on the season. And I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go with my heart here. I'm going to go Sixers over Warriors in the finals.
So let me say, if Kawhi comes back, I'll take Clippers in the West. I don't think he is, so I'm going to go Suns. And I'm picking with my head, not my heart. I'm going to go Suns, Bucks, and Suns to win it in the rematch because NBA loves rematches.
Thank you, Teja. What you said is exactly the same as me.
Broke that ice.
My good friend Monty Williams will win his first NBA championship.
Yeah, like rooting for Monty here.
Suns over the Bucks in 7.
I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, can't go wrong with any of those matchups here. And I know the NBA does like rematches, so that'll be fun to watch. And it'd be great to see former Sixer Monty Williams get a ring. It'd be nice. All right.
Any of the top West and East teams in the finals would be a great finals. I mean, even Memphis.
I mean, that's to be honest with you, the Bucks is really the only team I think we'll have trouble beating. Because in the East, yes. Factor. In the East because of him. I mean, if we're talking about having trouble with Siakam, how are we going to guard him?
I know.
We do have an answer for Giannis. That's Paul Reed, who I had him. He shot like 3 for 12 against him when Paul Reed was guarding him.
Man,
put your money on it.
You could be the one to ask Doc that before that series. Are you going to put Paul Reed on Giannis? I will say too, that'd be an amazing series. And personally, I wouldn't even see it. I mean, obviously, I want the Sixers to win the championship. But if we lose in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Bucks, the defending champions, I mean, I wouldn't see that as a losing season in my mind.
That's where I would have that. That's where I have us not making it. I have us losing to the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. I would love to be wrong.
Yeah.
But you guys don't think there's any shot the Nets beat the Bucks in the next round?
No.
Really? Why is that?
You said would I be shocked?
Yeah. Would you be shocked if the Nets beat the? Oh, you're saying no, you wouldn't be shocked. Oh, okay. Then never mind.
No, I would if they beat them. Like, no, I wouldn't be shocked.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I just think that the Bucks get the Nets some trouble too. I just think that of course they have KD, and I think that Jrue Holiday does a decent job on Kyrie, and then you have Middleton and Giannis. To kind of battle the KD factor. So I just think that that's a team that can beat the Nets. But it wouldn't shock me if the Nets, they're one game from beating them last season.
Yeah.
Eric, real fast, before I think this is their last show for a few days. Does Simmons play in the first round?
Yes.
You think so? Really? Wow. Okay. I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
Wait, you don't think he plays in the? Do you think he plays in the playoffs, Teja, or no? You don't think he plays at all?
I mean, he's not going to play. I do. He doesn't think it.
We're assuming they beat Boston. They're going to have their hands full with Boston. I mean, that's not going to be an easy series for them at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
I think he plays, but I think he plays like game. He comes back like 3 and 4.
So you think he comes in the series, but he doesn't start off playing like game 1.
Not game 1. Maybe like 3 or 4, game 2. Game 2 or like 3 or 4. I think he comes in and gets some minutes. I don't think he plays a lot, but I think he gives it a shot.
I think okay. I mean, I can maybe bend on that. I think the
Nets. You said play. Now we ain't talking about that.
Yeah, that's true. And they be doing. I mean, he's obviously fragile.
You just said play.
I'm not even dogging the guy.
I just said I think he gives it a shot.
He's fragile, so I don't think they'd be doing right by him by putting him in for more than 20 minutes a game. Just just get his feet wet, get him used to touching.
I'm sure he'll have a minute restriction. So
yeah. I don't know, man. I think he just doesn't want to be blamed for wins and losses at this point. So it's going to be these playoffs.
The minute restriction will save that.
That's true.
That'll save that, and then him coming in and having those two other guys that he can just come in, get a feel. If it's going well, you stick with him. If it's kind of like off a little bit, you kind of pull him. And you always have the injury and recovery to fall back on. We all know that if that's the case, then you can't expect that much from him.
Yep. Yeah, like Paul Pierce said, when all else fails, say you have a back injury.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for us. Thanks for tuning in to Bleav In 76ers, presented by BetOnline. We'll see you guys next week. So the game's not till Saturday, so we're going to do a couple shows next week to preview and recap what we've seen so far in the series, which most of us, we think we're going 6 or 7 games, so it'll be about a week and a half long series. So it'll be fun to break down the games coming up. And lastly, before we go, do we think we'll see a Joel Embiid MVP? Eric, will it be? What you think it's going to be his or no?
I hope so. I don't feel confident about it.
No, I don't think so.
I just think, outside of us and outside of Philly, I don't think that he's viewed the way we view him.
You saw what Durant said, right, today, how he said he's like, it's just simple as, he said Joel deserves it, but it's as simple as people just like Jokic and
that's what I'm saying. I don't think he's viewed the way we view them.
Yeah, they
everywhere else. So
national media just likes them more, and that's it.
That's about right. Scoring chat's pretty good too, though. So we'll take that and a playoff first round win. So we'll take all those. So
that's why winning championships, that matters. Winning is not debatable.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, if he loses in the first round and he doesn't get MVP, everyone's going to be like, "See, MVP would have won the first round. So you better win that. You better win the first round." And hey, he'll have a chip on his shoulder if they don't give it to him. So that's good too.
We'll see.
Hopefully.
All right, fellas. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Thank you. Take it easy.